Hi, I'm Nathan. I go by Peteparker, and every week I do comic book reviews because that is the rule around my house. I gotta do reviews if I want to keep buying them. So this review is going to be for Ultimate Spider-Man or Ultimate Comics Spider-Man, depending on what your viewpoint is. Number 158. So if you've been following the things that the reviews I've been putting out there, you will notice that I have not been buying Ultimate Spider-Man. I bought Ultimate Spider-Man from number 1 until about number 120-ish therein, when they started jumping around, making serious artist changes, serious storyline changes, and they changed the entire name of the series from Ultimate Spider-Man to Ultimate Comics Spider-Man, back to Ultimate Spider-Man, and it's all over the place, right? I happened to breeze through this because I kind of want to stay up with what's happening with Spider-Man dying this summer, and I noticed that, you know, I flipped through the ones last month and he got shot or whatever on the bridge out there. So this is picking up right after that. It's interesting too because the Ultimates versus New Avengers or New Ultimates or whatever that other book is called picks up right at the same spot too, but different things happen a little bit. So it's interesting, but this is a very much more focused Spider-Man situation. Anyway, I picked it up because I was trying to see what was ultimately going to happen in this book as they move forward, and look what they did! They got me to buy it. So there you go. I mean, I was flipping through this, and I was starting to see some of the really old school, Bagley, awesome art, right? It's classic Bagley from early on in the series. And it got me a little homesick for my little Ultimate Spider-Man series, right? So I was like, well, there's a lot going on in here. There's a lot of characters in here. I'll buy it, right? I'll check it out. And I liked it. Again, right? So what am I going to pick it up in the middle of the series again? Am I going to just forget about all those 30 issues, 40 issues that I don't have, that I haven't been paying attention to, and pick up from here on? I feel like I'm jumping on the bandwagon for the summer, right? But I guess I kind of am. The basic story in here is he got shot on the bridge. He's got to make his way back to his house to make sure everybody's okay. Well, he's going to go to the hospital is what his original intent is. You get a lot of internal monologue about why he's alone and what he wants to do and how much it hurts or whatever. He's going to go to the hospital or whatever, and then he sees the team of bad guys flying overhead, right? And you got the Sinister Six here flying, and you get some backstory about where they're going. They pick up some technology from the Tinkerer or something. There you go. I don't really care about that part. What is interesting is all these people flying, right? So let's take a look at this for a second. Well, I'll tell you the rest of the story real quick. He sees them flying overhead and tails them back to his house despite the giant gunshot wound that he web shot on his side. Those bad guys meet up with Iceman and Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, who just got back to Peter Parker's house in Queens, or Aunt May's house, and they're the only ones there, so they fight a little bit until Spider-Man shows up, and that's where this issue ends. So it's going to start with a giant brawl, right, or butt kicking right in the next thing, even though he's shot through the side. So anyway, let's talk about the overhead flying scene right here, right? So you got Electro, which I guess moves through the air like a bolt of lightning, which would seem awfully hard to direct, but I guess he is a person also, sure, okay? Let's believe that. Then you got the Sandman down here. Well, you know, the obvious ones are the Vulture flying up here. Sure, he's flying, and he's carrying Kraven, because Kraven can't run that far, and, you know, flying is easier. Although I have heard from many Invincible books that hold is very uncomfortable. I don't know it personally. And then you got, well, we'll talk about the Green Goblin at the end, but, you know, Green Goblin's way up there in the corner. And you got Sandman here with his weird spiral sand. How is that working? Is he shot out of a cannon? Is he propelling himself through the air or something? I mean, I know they did some CGI magic in Spider-Man 3 where Sandman kind of rode the wind or whatever, but that's very specific and very directed. I don't exactly understand what the physics are associated with Sandman shooting himself seemingly in the air, changing direction at will. and flying. Okay, that's weird. And I'd like to know how he'd do that. If there's somebody that's going to explain it in a book sometime, I'd like to read that. And then you have the Green Goblin up here too, which also always kind of flew, right? But it's more like a huge jump, more like a Hulk jump, and his hands are on fire at the same time. You'd think his whole body would be on fire or something. It seems like there's always explosions happening behind him, and that's what would happen. But anyway, so I had some issues with, oh, they're flying over a bridge, which is over water, which is out, you know, probably not on the way from wherever the Tinkerer was, downtown or whatever, or in the bad parts of the city, out to Queens, but what do I know? I've only been to New York like once or twice. And then in the interim, you get a really interesting and funny conversation between Johnny Storm and Iceman about how badly their double date went right before they both power up to fight all these bad guys that show up at the place that they're living. And you get some awesome panels out of that, too. I mean, Green Goblin and Human Torch, that's awesome. And he actually burns the hell out of the Green Goblin, which is great, right? You wouldn't think that the Green Goblin, having fire coming off him, or brimstone, or whatever it is, would actually be burned by that kind of stuff. And then there's some obvious pair-ups here. Sandman taking out Human Torch, sand over fire, that makes sense. Electricity over water makes sense. I mean, and they even do a little bit of Sandman versus Iceman, which isn't a lot, but you would think those are obvious pair-ups. Here's another panel. Another reason that I bought this entire book is this giant, cool Iceman panel of him. You don't get a lot of big shots of Iceman anymore, even as powerful as a character as he is. So that's cool. And then you get, of course, electro-shocking Iceman. Ice, you know, electricity and water, obviously, right? But that's pretty much it, more or less. So, I bought the book, and I was happy with it. I'm excited to see where it went. It feels like all heck is going to break loose next because Spider-Man has just shown up and he already beat the Vulture in one hit or whatever. And he's bleeding, so maybe they'll be the ones to kill him. You know, during my time reading Bendis's books over time, I really feel like he's not going to go the obvious route, right? When he was shot, everybody was thinking, well, not everybody. Obviously, some people were thinking, oh, maybe that killed him. Maybe that's the thing that killed him. But we're way too early in the death of the Spider-Man solicit material to really be there yet. And then you have all of these, the Sinister Six trying to kill him too, which I think is pretty lame. I really don't like the Sinister Six as an idea at all. I mean, it's fine once, right? But you wouldn't expect those guys to get back together and do the same things over and over and over. Seems stupid. So I hope that they're not the reason that he's killed. I hope that my assumptions about Bendis' writing style is that it's not that obvious, that it's actually something else that kills him, but it's kind of, that's part of the process, just like the bullet that he just took was. But it also makes me really sad. I mean, here you have the awesome original creative team back on it, working on it together, and you're going to end it. He's going to die. I thought about this right as I was finishing this book and flipping through it for the review. You're going to kill the Spider-Man character, the best, the most awesome character, arguably, of course, in the Ultimate Universe, the most long-running of his own series, that's for sure. And you're going to kill him. It seems like an awfully risky move to make with the whole Ultimate series, but, you know, they already have somebody else lined up to take him. He had like 50 clones back in the day. They were all hanging out. His DNA is all over everywhere in all kinds of different suits and stuff. Oh, here's another panel that I can say something about really quick. There's a little bit of subtlety here in the shading and the coloring in general, but you know, a lot of this articulation in the hands and the shadows and the differences when he's actually picking his hand from laying flat is really good. It's a little bit of repetition in the panels, but that's a really good drawing, and I noticed it, so you know, that says something to me too. But really, when it comes down to it, this book is Bendis and Bagley writing Ultimate Spider-Man, so it's just as awesome as it has arguably ever been. and it's really hard to put down. I think I'm going to have a hard time not continuing on until the death, or even after the death at this point, depending on the creative teams, of course. But they got me. Spider-Man's getting me recently. Although you'll notice that I didn't buy the actual Amazing Spider-Man this week, because that was a whole different creative team too, and I looked through it, and there was not one thing interesting in there to me at all. So there you go. Maybe I'm switching over to Ultimate for the summer. Who knows, right? Amazing changes all the time. So anyway, there you go. I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5. It would be a 5 out of 5 if I was completely blown away, if I had been a little bit more invested in the story, and probably if it wasn't the Sinister Six again. But there are some awesome elements to this book, and it's really good. It's a really good lead-in to the death of Spider-Man, which I know will be an amazing trade once that whole thing comes packaged and comes out. So there you go. Check it out. Jump on board the train with me, the wagon, the train. I forget what the euphemism is. Euphemism? Maybe that word's wrong. It's late at night. I did all these early, so you guys would know about it. Or so I'd be first out there and everything. Anyway, it's late at night. These are my reviews for the week. It's going to be a long week without any comics or reviews to post, but that's it. Check out my other stuff on YouTube under Spidey207. Under Peteparker at Comic Vine, Marvel and DC Databases, and iFanboy. Alright, thanks for listening, and I guess I'll be talking to you next week. Thanks.